Everybody, welcome to episode 4 of Chasing Ghost. In this episode, it's the last regular season event of the Tennessee Christian Bass Anglers. The team of the year is on the line, and we're headed to Watauga Lake, a beautiful, deep, clear water reservoir that the fish are in transition mode. The bass are setting up near points or flats and pushing those bait fish up onto these areas during those feeding windows. The key is hitting them at the right time and finding those locations where they're starting to school up. Let's check out the practice video. We'll talk about what took place there, and then we'll dive into the tournament recap. So we started off the morning here in practice on a flat, and you're going to see here from the image that's about to pop up in the right-hand corner that it's a flat next to a steep drop, and that drain or that ditch runs up into the back of this pocket here. But one of the keys to focus in on is that wind. That wind is blowing across there, that bait's up there on top, and it's pushing that right to those bass, and they're able to pull up there and feed on that flat and then suspend back out there over deep water.
He just now realized he was hooked. I'll bring another one with him.
Is there?
Yeah.
So a little bit later that morning, we had checked a couple other places, but we moved to a similar situation to what we had found first thing that morning. And what we have here is a long point out next to the main channel. But again, it's one of those high points where the bait fish is grouping up near this area. This is at the mouth of a creek, and those bass are able to push those bait fish up onto this shallow area. They're able to feed, then they're suspending off of it. This was still with the jerk bait, but we made a few changes here. Dad started even just hopping a silver buddy right here off the break line for some of those fish that were suspended out off of it. And then he threw a silver buddy across and cranked it across. I even tie on a spy bait and throw a spy bait across it to get a few more bites. But the main key is that wind's blowing into us. And one thing that was very different about the tournament day that kind of changed things up was the direction of that wind. That wind was playing perfectly coming through this area and helping us to get these bites and getting those fish actively feeding up on top of that point. But again, you're looking for areas that are, one, got bait in the zone, because again, it's the fall. They're looking for bait. They're feeding up for the winter time. This is the 1st of November here. But again, I'm looking for areas where these fish are going to be schooling up around the bait. They're pushing those fish up on those shallows. And there's a multitude of ways that you can attack them, whether it be with a jerk bait if it's shallow enough, or a swim bait, or the silver buddy. But the key is to be around that bait and look for these high points or these flats near some deep water.
I like somebody about 50 foot out. I feel like 50 foot. Are they? Good deal. You know, I mean, it's just a big flat.
Now, as the day got longer, you can see that the clouds broke up a little bit. We started to get some sunny skies, and we kind of moved out deeper and started to focus on this Demiki bite. Still a similar situation, just a deeper flat than what we'd been focused on near the picnic area and on that that point earlier in the morning. But you still see these two ditches that are coming around this island. It's flat that these fish can push that bait up on. And you heard me mention it just a little bit earlier in this clip right here that it's a little bit harder when you get on these larger flats and on these islands because those fish can roam a lot and you really have to chase them around and move around with them. But one thing to focus on here with the Demiki is watch how much that I play with the reel. Opening the bail, letting some line out, reeling up. You're really messing with these fish and trying to get them to bite by moving the bait around them. Okay, reel up past them, drop it down below them, but move it around, and that's going to help entice a lot of bites with that Demiki. But again, still sticking near that same idea. Near deep water, flats they can push up on, but there's bait present.
Spot. Coming after you. Was he mad? He looked like he did. Seemed like he did. Oh, Lordy.
Two of them down there.
Step this way for a second. Small or big?
I don't know.
He's staying down like he's big.
Drop in there and you'll get one.
Well, you good? Well, let's just say he's not all that lightweight. Oh!
Better suspend it up. Yeah. Good. Does it good. Stay on it good.
Down there now.
Right under the boat.
So as you can see from the practice video, had a really good day. The big thing was with all that cloud cover and that good wind, those clear water reservoir smallmouth love those nasty conditions like that, or those overcast conditions. Gets them very active, and that wind helped out a lot. Now, what you're going to see in the tournament video here is we had a lot calmer winds, and we had a lot sunnier skies, and that changed things up quite a bit. We started out our morning on that island flat where we'd caught some fish to Meekin in practice and things just were not working out. We couldn't get the fish to react and eat. We ended up catching one on a jerk bait to get us a keeper bite. And then later on the day, we came back to that island, and I talked to you all earlier in the video about those feeding windows. You've got to be looking for those feeding windows. And they fired up. And that was a big key. I didn't get two of our best catches. We doubled up on a Demiki, and I'm running it on loop, and I forgot to hit the button to record or save it. So we miss out on those two. But we really go from having nothing. We had one small spot going into like the last hour of the tournament to pulling in on that flat, getting them fired up on that Demiki, and finishing out our limit and salvaging our day by coming back to that area just the right time.
Down.
All right, so things to keep in mind as we wrap up this episode of Chasing Ghost is the fact that those feeding windows will play a large part in your fall decisions. You're going to see this in episode 5 of Chasing Ghosts when we go to Chickamauga, that being aware of when those fish bit in certain locations is very, very important. In practice, those fish on that island were feeding in the afternoon. And again, we see it here in the tournament day. And I've got to be aware of that going into the tournament. That way I don't go there in the morning and say, well, they're not biting, they're not here today. Because again, it was very important to be back on that island later on in the afternoon. And like I said, you didn't get to see two of them. You can see in this picture here, our limit, that we caught two really nice fish. We doubled up on those, and then put two more in the box to fill out our limit. But again, that key was that feeding window. So we're going to stick near deep water. We're going to find those flats, those points here in this fall transition where those fish are pushing those bait fish up there to feed. And then keep in mind those feeding windows, and don't be afraid to come back to an area, even if you didn't get bit there earlier. If you find something in practice, make a mental note. Think, what time of day was this? When did I get bit? And then be kind of focusing in on that, because too often we get out of a good rotation or we forget about that. We try to go to those spots first thing in the morning, nothing's going on, because that timing was so crucial to when those fish wanted to push up there and they wanted to feed. So guys, I hope you get to take away something here from episode 4 of Chasing Ghosts on Watauga Lake. We'll see you next time with episode 5 of Chasing Ghosts. We're heading down to Chickamauga looking for a giant, hoping to play around with some frogfish, some grass, have a great time down there. Hope you learned something. We'll catch you on the next episode.